Assalamu alaikum and welcome to the Muslim Marriage Podcast, where we talk about healthy relationships from a Muslim lens. I'm Zahra Hassan.
And I'm AJ, and you are our distinguished guests. Come on in.
Oh, it's a new I forgot about the new intro.
Yes, we brainstormed this new intro.
You wrote robotic?
Yes.
That does not sound rehearsed.
I want change, you know?
Yeah.
I want to change the world.
We'll start with the intro. And
Yeah.
We'll go from there.
We'll go from there.
Okay.
I would like to invite you all into our meeting room.
I mean, the virtual meeting room.
Our conference table.
It's the virtual conference table.
Our home.
Oh, no. Someone is going to take you seriously.
Because you are our distinguished guests.
Okay. In Shaa Allah, someone is going to take you seriously. But you know what? Even if they do, they'll be our distinguished guests.
They'll be our distinguished guests.
Okay. All right.
Until the police arrive.
You hear
Please,
the sirens.
Wait until you're invited. Actually, you know what? I invited them.
You did, but do you hear that there's sirens?
Yeah, they're in preparation.
Inshallah. Oh, no, wait, not inshallah. It's our force of habit. Let's get to the episode.
Yeah, let's get started.
Okay, so this week's episode is entitled, What Do We Say During the Talking Stage? Yeah. Yeah? Does it make sense?
It reminds me of that joke. Road work ahead. Yeah, I hope it does.
Yes, inshallah. I hope the road does work ahead.
Yeah.
Inshallah, yes.
Because your question was, what do we say during the talking stage? I'm like, obviously you're talking.
Well, yeah, but what specifically about? So let's get into the
How
question.
do you do the talking stage without talking?
We're about to find out.
All right, let's find out.
Okay. So this question comes from a gentleman from the Muslim Marriage subreddit. And he says, Assalamu alaikum everyone. I hope you're all doing well. Lately I've been reflecting a lot and I wanted to share my situation and seek your advice. I'm currently in the process of getting to know a girl with the intention of marriage. Alhamdulillah, we share the same values and have a very similar mindset. This is the first time things have gotten serious for both of us, so it's a completely new experience. Recently, our families met for the first time. Both of us were quite shy during the meeting, which is natural. Later, when we spoke about it on the phone, we laughed a lot about how nervous we were. The thing is, after 3 months of getting to know each other, I feel like we still haven't fully opened up to one another. We've had great conversations about our ordinary topics like hobbies, work, and travel, but we haven't really touched on deeper, more personal matters. Sometimes I even struggle to find new topics to talk about, which makes me wonder if I'm doing something wrong or if this is just part of the process. My questions for you are, have any of you been in a similar situation? When did you and your partner feel comfortable enough to open up completely? How do you handle the challenge of running out of topics to talk about? Does it become easier after engagement when physical boundaries like hugging are no longer an issue? Could that help break down the barriers we're experiencing now? Don't get me wrong, our conversations are enjoyable and we're learning about each other, but I feel like we haven't reached that deeper level of connection yet. And I'm curious if this is something that naturally develops over time. Please share your experiences, advice, and tips. This is my first time navigating something so serious, and I would appreciate any guidance. May Allah reward you all and make it easy for all of us in our search for a life partner. Inshallah. Ameen.
Ameen.
So just before we even get started, it's important to iterate where the brother says if it becomes easier after engagement when physical boundaries like hugging are no longer an issue. To the best of my understanding, when you're engaged, you're not married. So all of the rules of that existed prior to engagement are still there. And you only become halal for each other once you're married. So I'm just going to put up that disclaimer. And having said that, what are your thoughts?
That's a great question. Can you elaborate further? I'm having a hard time understanding, really.
I mean, I know it was a lot. It was a lot to throw at you.
Yeah.
Do you want me to repeat it? Or are you good?
No. I understood. I understood the words he was saying, but not really the question he was asking.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I think he was asking, actually, let's just go straight to the question, the specific questions, because I think we understand the gist of his situation, right?
Yeah.
He's somebody who's in a talking stage and he has a few specific questions where
his talking stage to me seemed superficial.
Most
right?
of them are in the beginning.
Yeah. Well, no, specifically, like he invited to meet the parents, right? They had the whole meet with the parents,
Yeah.
presumably both his and hers.
Yeah.
That at that point, the talking stage should not be superficial, right?
Yeah.
It should be about deep subjects. It should be about compatibilities. You know, in this day and age, as Muslims, you're expected to all agree on the same things politically,
Yeah.
right? So that really isn't much of a talking point,
Mm.
but still worth asking those questions just in case you have a person that is like not too far gone out there in the whole modern wokeism, I guess is what's the word for abandoning your religion for modernity.
The word is wokeism.
Yeah,
Oh, I'm not sure that's what it means. In fact, I don't
I'm
think that's
trying to
what it
figure
means.
out what the word is. You guys know what I'm talking about.
Yes. Yeah.
It's the opposite of a fundamental religion,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
It's someone that changes the religion to try to fit in better with the society that they're in.
Okay.
So those kind of questions you want to ask to gauge what kind of person you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, like what do you guys want to do for in the future? Like how many children are you expecting?
I have a
If you
feeling.
guys match up there.
I have a feel. Okay, so the way that I've over the years,
Yeah.
and honestly through my own experience on the dating apps, what I've noticed is a lot of people have a rote list, a rote set of questions that they
Rote
go
spelled ROTE.
Yes.
New word.
New, thank you. Where they go through almost reflexively. And a lot of these are great questions about, where do you want to live? What does your future look like? All of the basic questions. But still these questions feel superficial because what they're asking about is more labels.
Yeah.
Right? They're asking about, like, on this checklist, do we have basic logistical compatibility?
Yeah.
And I think that after 3 months, he talked about hobbies and travel, and I suspect if I were to ask this brother, they probably ask these questions.
Yeah.
Most people do.
They didn't. They
Let's-
didn't. Based off the questions that
Yeah.
based off the words he said he's only ever talked about superficial stuff like hobbies, things like that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. He says.
But he never talked about anything deep and personal.
Yeah, he says, but we really haven't touched on deeper, more personal matters. Okay.
Yeah.
So then the answer would be just to
Touch on
sit
deeper,
down.
more personal
Yeah,
matters.
just sit down and ask those questions.
Yeah.
But let's address the situation that I see commonly where people do ask those questions and they are able to check off those basic things on the compatibility list.
Yeah.
Where they have, basic shared values, basic shared idea of in terms of goals, family goals, career goals, all of those things.
Yeah.
But still those questions feel superficial, and what he's trying to say on some level is, I don't feel that level of connection. How do you have conversation to be able to establish, or at least to see if that level of connection is there?
Yeah.
Right? If that was the question that he were asking, how would you address that?
The way I see it, truthfully, is that you really shouldn't be getting into a deeper level of connection before you're married, because that's not the whole point.
Yeah.
The point of the talking stage is to determine if you guys are compatible, right?
Yeah.
If you guys are attracted to each other, if you guys see yourselves being married for a long time. The deep connection, the feelings of love, all that, in essence, should be coming after you get married, right?
Yeah.
You don't want to put yourself in a position where you become deeply connected to all these women.
Yeah.
And then you marry one woman.
That's
and then
a good
all of
point.
a sudden now you're deeply connected to all these other women. And there's like this nagging feeling like, oh, wow, I really like that girl. Should I have married her instead? It's just an issue for problems. It's like what's it called?
Recipe.
Like a recipe.
Yeah.
A recipe for problems, right? All you got to do is like, it's supposed to basically stay superficial.
Yeah.
Right? Superficial as in the questions about family, right? The questions about where do you guys plan on living? Like, which country do you guys want to move?
Logistics.
Yeah, like what's your long term? How do you plan on doing this or this? Basically, those should be classified as superficial questions, right? Deep questions come later after you guys get married. Like, hey, why are you trying to hotbox me under the covers right now? Like, hey, what's that shovel doing in your closet? Like, hey, why do you have boxing gloves? What are you putting them on for? Those kind of questions, those are deep questions that come after you guys are married.
It should be answered with a lawyer present.
No?
Okay,
no
never.
lawyers, yeah. Because if you get a lawyer, they're gonna get scared, right? Because they're gonna think that you're trying to sign a prenuptial.
Oh,
But prenuptials don't necessarily, I don't believe they would be Islamic, right? Because
that's a whole different topic.
Because I mean, I guess it could be like.
We're not until we know for sure if it's Islamically one way or another.
I think it's already decided for us what happens, right?
Yeah.
She just keeps her mehed. And if you guys have any children, they're handled with Islamically. I believe the mom keeps them until they're about 2 years old or something, when they're no longer breastfeeding. And then the father takes care of them afterwards.
That is what I heard. But it's very important for our listeners to remember that neither you or I have any training on jurisprudence. We are regular practicing Muslim people. And please take every single thing that we say with a massive grain of salt. And if you are going to take Islamic advice from us, always double check.
And you are our distinguished guests.
Yes, of course.
Come on in.
Of course. Okay, so I agree with what you said, that when it comes to the talking stage, that you do want to respect that boundary between the two of you.
Yeah.
And it's okay for things to be somewhat awkward, right? But there again, you're looking for a balance between the two. Because this is somebody that you're going to marry and have to share a household with. I can't tell you the number of clients who have come to me and have had to become divorced under a year simply because that connection, the compatibility in terms of connection wasn't there.
Yeah. They came to you after they already got divorced?
Yes. Usually by that time they're coming to me after the divorce is already been decided, right?
Yeah, so they're just trying to do like a last ditch save or something?
No, they're single at that point.
Oh,
right?
I see.
So they're
trying to not repeat their mistakes.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is that there has been many times an issue, and sometimes it can be something that can be salvaged. Sometimes it can't. Not everybody's for everybody. Even if we think about in our own daily lives, there are people we just can't get along with.
Yeah,
that
exactly.
It just happens. There are going to be people that you come across at work, at school, on the bus, wherever. That they might be good people. You're a good person, but the two of you, your personalities, you're just not going to get along, and
Personally,
you accept that.
I cannot get along with Akimbawele.
That same guy.
Yeah, I said hi to him last time. He didn't say hi back.
Oh, that poor guy.
I know he's watching. He didn't even comment. He ignored me,
All right.
I extended an invite to him.
Okay.
So now he's my sworn enemy for life.
Subhanallah.
Akimbawele, I know where you live.
Leave the brothers alone. Okay, but hopefully it's understood, right? So therefore, it is important to assess that level of if the connection is there. So being too formal, your vetting process might be incomplete, and being way too informal is also not good, because there are boundaries that we have to respect within Islam. So you have to find that balance between the two. And the way that when people approach me with this question of, well, things still feel more awkward than I think that they should, how should it feel, right? Always remember that if you are in a talking stage, there's always an option if it's not going to work, to walk away. Right? Like you're not. It's not a good idea to try to be fitting around like something in a square hole, a round structure in a square hole. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like that analogy. If it doesn't fit, it doesn't fit, and that's okay. There are going to be other people that are a better fit. Always walk into every talking stage with that understanding, right? That if this is meant for you, this is right for you, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wrote it for you, then it's going to be okay no matter what you do. And if it's not written for you, then it's not going to work out no matter what you do. But what you can do on your end is to try to think more long term, and assess and be realistic and be honest with yourself about all the different sorts of compatibility, all the things that you have to consider in your personal vetting process. And when it comes to connection, be honest with yourself about, is this someone I can get along with? And and the way that I always tell people to assess for connection, I give the example of quarantine. If quarantine, inshallah, it doesn't happen again. But if quarantine happens again, and you have to quarantine with this person, in you and them by themselves in a house for 2 weeks, so that you have no one else to talk to, are you gonna be able to do that comfortably, right? Like a lot of people, their marriages didn't survive quarantine because they found out the hard way that no, I actually can't do that comfortably. So that's the level of connection that you're looking for, long term. How you can assess your connection in the moment. You're looking for a feeling that you have, for example, with a really good friend, right? So like for me, my best friend is my sister, right? So alhamdulillah, when I'm sitting down and I talk to my sister, like my nervous system is calm. I'm not agitated. I'm not thinking about anything except what it is that we're saying. I'm able to be present and in the moment, and I feel comfortable with her. And that same level of feeling. So whoever it is for you, right? Whether it's your sibling, a friend, a cousin, somebody that you enjoy spending time with, in that same way, somebody who you can be yourself with, and that you feel comfortable and safe enough within reason, because this person is still a stranger, but comfortable and safe with, to have conversations, and that you're not really worried about bringing things up and there being a negative confrontation, for example, right? So that's what it is you're trying to achieve. Like that's what you're trying to gauge and look for. So if it doesn't feel like that, be honest with yourself. That connection might not be there, and you just keep it moving. You find someone who does.
Exactly. You just keep it moving. Don't get too attached to people. Just understand.
Why did you say that looking
You're
at
still
me?
in the talking stage. Baby, we've progressed past the talking stage, so you don't have to worry.
But just the look that you gave me when you said don't get too attached. I'm like, all right. Okay.
Don't get too attached to people.
Well, it's too late. You're here.
It's too late. I'm here.
We're doing a voice? We're over enunciating?
I'm talking like this on purpose.
I'm just going to accept that that's what's happening.
We're going to talk about the elephant in the room.
What's the elephant?
The elephant in the room is, why did she bring all her friends?
All right, what's happening here? I'm just trying to understand. Who brought what friends?
All her friends.
Okay.
To our talk. Our meeting.
Is that...
All right, I'll stop.
Thank you. I've been pleading with you for a minute. Jazaa K'Allah Khayr. But yes, so if we go back to the original question of the podcast, right? Where people ask, well, what do you actually say? What do you talk about? We haven't explicitly talked about what are the list of things that you should ask, and there's a reason for that. Because that's going to be different from person to person based on their individual values, individual set of logistics. What is it?
Hobbies. Interests.
All those things.
Things like that.
But even in terms of what their plans are, what in terms of expectation, like who they are and what they're looking for is going to be unique and different, right? But I always keep that list of questions or the things that you should mention relatively general. So we spoke in detail about what to observe for, right? So what to look out for when you are in the talking stage and trying to select a spouse. In the episode entitled "How to Choose Your Spouse," right? What are the characteristics or features or virtues that you want to pay attention to? When we get to what specifically to talk about, these are going to be mostly related to under the umbrella of compatibility. Compatibility. So first thing is obviously logistics. You want to talk about where are we going to live? Are you going to move here? Am I going to move there? Just the logistics of how you're actually going to be able to be in the same place, right?
Yeah, literally.
Exactly. Something else that you really should talk about is financial compatibility, and we did a whole episode on that I think it was called money and marriage. It was one of the early episodes, but we went through it in some detail with respect to how to assess financial compatibility.
Mm-hmm.
But more explicitly, when you're asking about finances, you talk about what you expect, right?
Yeah.
Just say and then let them respond.
Yeah.
Instead of asking them point blank question, like interview questions, you can just talk about what it is that you want. So for example, when you and I met, I said something like, I've worked really hard over the last decade or etc. to train for what it is that I do, and I would really love to keep doing that. Right, that's my plan to do that. What do you think about that? And then
I said no.
You said right off the bat.
I said the second we get married, you're
Yeah.
gonna be a housewife,
And it's done.
You're not leaving the kitchen.
Well, I've been.
I don't know why you agreed to this.
Well, it was a really nice kitchen.
Yeah.
But I presented it in that way, right? Another thing that you should talk about when financial compatibility, it's a good idea to try to talk about credit scores in a nice way. All right, I just say I have a credit score of such and such, you know, and give some kind of explanation for why it is the way it is, and then let them tell you theirs.
Yeah.
But most of assessment of financial compatibility is going to come from observation, right?
Mm-hmm.
Of paying attention to how this person spends their money, how they talk about money. When you go out to places, when you take your Willie with you, but when you go out to places, just are they ordering something a lot more expensive than you would, or a lot cheaper than you like that? People will show you their relationship with money much more accurately than they'll tell you how they relate to money. So it's mostly going to come from observation. What is very important to talk about during the talking stage, the one thing that I explicitly tell clients to talk about during the talking stage is role expectations. Explicitly have this conversation where you say, I would, with respect to expectations, what what are you expecting from me as your wife? And what should I expect from you as my husband?
Mm-hmm.
Just use that exact script, because the number of couples or clients who have come to see me who are really struggling because of a complete mismatch of what one is expecting and with respect to the other is just it's a lot. It's a lot of people. So make sure that you ask about that one thing explicitly. But when it comes to logistics, when it comes to finances, when it comes to your personal values, religious values, your political stance, your whether or not you want children, your relationship with your family and their relationship with their family, it's a very long list. I am working on releasing a PDF called the compatibility checklist. In Shaa Allah, when that's out, I'll let you know. But all of those are going to just come from the talking stage, naturally. The only one I would explicitly mention is role expectations. Please make sure you are asking about role expectations and that those match up. And that's my TED talk.
Yes. Now that one thing.
Yes.
That one really important thing.
Yes.
Would you perhaps say that doctors hate this one trick?
We wouldn't know. We maybe. Is it from that clickbait?
No, absolutely not. What? No, this is. There's no clickbait on the internet.
Does it
There
exist?
isn't,
It's
no.
just truth. It's
Yeah.
all different kinds of truth.
Who would lie on the internet?
It's beyond me.
No one would lie on the internet.
See,
First
now
and
it
foremost,
sounds like we're lying on the internet.
I don't know what you're talking about. Let me explain
Yes.
the elephant in the room.
Oh, we're back.
Yeah.
All right.
Lying on the internet is not a thing.
Oh.
It's just not a thing. All of those ads,
Mm-hmm.
they're all safe to click.
Yeah.
Yeah. For legal purposes, do not listen to my advice.
Yeah. Most of what we say, please don't listen.
For legal purposes, do not listen to my advice.
Uh-huh.
For non-legal purposes, click on the link. What's the worst that can happen?
Oh
9
my
out of 10
gosh.
doctors agree.
We're gonna have so many different kinds of lawyers coming to see us with different levels of complaints. It's gonna be an issue.
First of all, let me be clear.
Yes.
I'm immune to class action lawsuits because I already graduated.
That was terrible. That was terrible. It was toxic. but I like it. It was funny. So I think that's what it is. Let's just try to make sure that we answered this brother's question. Just give me one
We
moment.
have, yeah. The answer was he wasn't asking the right questions.
Yeah.
The questions to ask are, what's wrong with your face?
Okay. All right.
And once you get past that awkwardness,
Yeah.
the initial awkwardness,
Yeah.
then you just ask the normal questions that a normal person would ask a normal person.
I think what would be helpful is for people to have an example, because a lot of what it is that we talk about are things that are not really talked about.
All right,
Right?
shoot. Go ahead. Ask
So-
me.
no, it's not like when I say an example.
Example away. Go ahead.
When I say, I mean in terms of our talking stage.
I'm ready. I'm waiting.
You gotta let me finish. In terms of our talking stage,
Yeah.
right? The sort of things that we talked about. Okay, so in general, you and I spoke on the phone primarily.
Quite a long time.
Yeah, for at least a month before we met in person.
No, I mean like
For-
one time we spoke for 4 hours.
We did, yes.
Yeah.
Our families were there, but we had a lot to talk about.
4 hours.
Yeah. But the things that we talked about, some of it was important and some of it was not. The ones that
Yeah.
I remember are that made an impression on me are the ones that I wanted to make sure that I asked, right?
Yeah.
So in our first conversations, we talked a little bit about logistics, right? Because we were in one area and then I knew that I wanted to move to another area. So I just wanted to give you a heads up about that.
Yeah.
Other things that we spoke about, we talked 10% about things that were important
Yeah.
and 90% about really a lot of nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fluff.
A lot of fluff. Right.
Fluff.
But the fluff was very helpful because it helped me to understand
Our
that,
personalities.
yes, that
Yeah.
our personalities were a good match
Yeah.
and that it was relatively easy to talk to you, alhamdulillah.
Yeah.
And that I felt very comfortable talking to you from the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah, from the
One
beginning.
thing that I still don't really understand after 3 years of being married
Alhamdulillah.
to each other, 3.5 years,
About to
if you
be,
count the next month,
In Shaa Allah.
right? In Shaa Allah.
I do count the next month, but yes.
She somehow finds me funny, a lot funnier than other people would find me. Like when I would make a joke, she would laugh, and I'm like, that was not a good joke. She must, for the first year or something, I'm like, she must just be laughing
Yeah.
because she likes me. It just trying to make me feel good.
No. Not
3
at all.
years in, I'm like, nobody can keep it up this long. No one's keeping up the act this long.
I could tell you, like, we have the most wonderful audience in the world. Alhamdulillah. They're very, very kind people who send me a lot of messages because
Alhamdulillah.
I'm the one who's reading all of your wonderful messages and I share them with AJ. But they would all disagree.
Mhm.
They would disagree that I think the reason that one of the reasons that I married you, and I know
Yeah.
each day I tell you a new reason. This is the reason. Forget
Yeah,
all the others. This is
every
the
day
reason
you
that
tell
I
me
married you.
one reason is the only reason why you married me.
Forget everything
I
else.
find that hilarious.
Yeah, but today, let's just forget everything else. I married you because I think that your sense of humor is uniquely funny. And I compare it to, because I love comedy and I
Yeah.
love comedians, right? I have a list. People have a top 5 of different types of artists, my top five is always in comedians.
Yeah.
And amongst my favorite comedians
Yeah.
is Norm Macdonald, who passed away. And your sense of humor reminds me so acutely of his sense of humor. And for anyone who is familiar with Norm Macdonald, AJ tells a lot of jokes that are like, if you've ever seen the moth joke, which is very popular on the internet.
Yeah.
I get at least 3 different kinds of moth jokes a day that are just so frustrating, but so very funny at the same time. So it's your sense of humor is such a good match for my mind.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'm glad you said it was acutely funny.
Yeah.
You know?
Not chronic?
What?
Not chronically funny? So not...
No, not ugly.
Oh.
Yeah.
No, chronically...
I like being acute.
Oh, that's cute.
Well, now you're just being obtuse.
See, this is what it is. That was beautiful. I like that. But your sense, so in our talking stage, right? So during that time that we spent talking on the phone primarily, and I recommend people talking on the phone more than in person, because you're able to gauge connection in a much more concentrated way. Because when you are on the phone with somebody, first of all, you're using your phone, so you can't be on your phone. Does that make sense? Like, so you can't be distracted, and you're a lot more present. You're a lot more present because a lot of the insecurities that come with having to be in front of somebody face to face go away. So it's just a better gauge of what interacting with this person is going to be like through talking on the phone. That's just my experience and what I've seen helps with clients, right? So when you and I were talking on the phone and we spent a lot of time talking about fluff and nonsense, just gauging our connection, other people who I've spoken to before you, talking to them was like pulling teeth.
Yeah.
There is a level of formality that should be there, and it was there between the two of us, but that formality was so much more extreme that I didn't know how to talk to them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know how to. It was a lot of silence. It was me trying to drive a conversation that wasn't happening, or sometimes them trying to drive one with me. And even though everything else on the checklist checked out, sometimes these were people who were brought by my family, right? And the logistics were all there, value was all there, but because that conversation was so hard to have, I knew it wasn't gonna work.
Yeah.
Like that's having been.
I'll tell you my secret.
Okay, go for it.
How I was able to keep our conversations nice, relaxed, and engaged.
Oh, okay.
If I thought of my attraction to you, right? And I'm like, yeah, I like this lady.
Okay.
I want to continue talking with her. I'd get nervous. So for the entire duration of our talk, I would pretend that I hate you, actively despise you.
Oh, that came through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I would try to make it so that you hate yourself too.
Oh.
Right?
That didn't come through.
Yeah, that's the problem. That's why we're married now. That's why it's worked out for us.
I was too confident.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was the issue. But yeah, In Shaa Allah, like it's very hard to capture in words and articulate, and that's why I think we're having a little bit of trouble. But when people ask this question, check the connection, see if it's somebody that you're comfortable talking to, similar to how you feel like when you're talking to your friends or other people that you like enjoy spending time with. And if that level of comfort is there, it's the feeling rather than the words that you're looking for. It's the feeling that's more important than the actual words that are spoken. Because I don't remember most of what we said.
Yeah.
But the feeling told me all that I needed to know, that this is somebody who I could talk safely with, that was not really confrontational, that who thought similar to the way that I did, who problem solved similar to the way that I did. Like it's just that feeling. So you're looking for a feeling of what it's like to spend time with this person. And when it comes to asking specific questions, make sure that you ask the ones that are important to you and relevant to your life in terms of logistics, values, all the things that we mentioned. But the only one that you make sure that you ask is the one with respect to role expectations.
Exactly.
Yes, role expectations. And I think in a roundabout way, inshallah, we've answered the question.
If at the very not, if we haven't answered your question, we've talked. And that was the whole point of this episode of the talking stage.
Yeah. We've had a conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for being our distinguished guests.
We appreciate your time.
Get out.
Oh God. That's why I was so nervous saying anything. I'm like, something's coming. But okay, so in another way, we could say Jazaa K'Allah Khayr. Thank you so much for choosing to spend your time with us. We really appreciate it as always. Let us know what your experience being in talking stages has been like so far in the comments below. If it's been awkward, if it's been easy, if it's been difficult, and any advice that you have for fellow brothers and sisters, it's always appreciated. If you have found anything that we said useful, here or in a different episode, please, and you haven't subscribed and you're on YouTube, please subscribe. It really does help out, with the algorithm and to make sure that we reach as many people as possible, In Shaa Allah. And finally, if you're a young woman who is tired and exhausted and drained and losing faith in humanity, from being on the dating apps, believe me, I understand. If you would like some help and guidance, I offer a webinar that will be free for one more day. March the 1st, this coming Saturday, March the 1st, will be the last free webinar. Please feel free to sign up. There will be a link in the description. There will also be a link in the first comment if you're on YouTube. And there's also a link on our Instagram page at Zara Hassan Coaching. Should be everything, all the housekeeping. Am I missing anything? We're
Nope.
good?
Yep.
Okay.
We are not missing a thing.
All right. So Jazaa K'Allah Khayr. Thank you so much. We wish you a wonderful week and we'll see you on Thursday. Inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.